got me all excited, and I was so hyped for this movie. And now with everything surrounding it afterwards, it pulled it all away, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't care about the movie anymore. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Collective Comics and the Lights Comics Action Podcast. We're diving into episode 41 today. Today is going to be quite a different one. We got quite a few different cancellations and things of that nature kind of happening. Everybody's going on strike, which is leaving us, I don't know, hurting in the feels.
Right, yeah, we're not getting movies or anything. Everything's getting canceled, pushed back. We've talked about it a little bit, but this news just keeps coming. I saw a meme the other day. It's like the writer or the top guys, the rich people. They're like, "Oh, we can't afford to do this." And then it was the rich duck from like Darkwing Duck or DuckTales or whatever, diving into a pile of money. Scrooge McDuck, is that what? Scrooge McDuck, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he's just like diving into a pile of money. But it's pretty funny.
Man. Yeah, I mean, when you're begging for more money and you're a billionaire, I don't know.
But it's the billionaires that say, we don't have any money. Where do you want us to get money? And they're like swimming in their bathtubs full of $100 bills.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
Crazy. Yeah.
Solid gold toilets.
Yeah, where would we get money from?
Sell your toilet.
One of your 70 houses.
Yeah, right?
You can only live in one massive house at a time. Why do you need a bunch of them?
Right. Man, but the one that hurt me this week was Deadpool getting kind of pushed back. You know, I mean, we already kind of knew that was getting pushed back, but now it's like on a full halt.
Yeah. Well, Deadpool was always the one that was like staying where it was, and like it even got moved up when a lot of other stuff got moved back, and then just slammed on the brakes now. Yeah.
And I guess it's apparently due to the writer strike that's happening. It's something to do with the writers coming in and not being able to. Well, they're on strike, so they're just not writing.
Right.
You know, so I'm assuming they probably don't have 100% of the script, you know, written out, and that's what they need to finish the movie. Because are they shooting yet? Did they start shooting?
They have started shooting, yeah, because we've seen like the new Wolverine suit and stuff like that, the new Deadpool suit. But I mean, a lot of the actor stuff is just in solidarity with the writers as well. So like a lot of actors aren't doing anything anymore because they want the writers to get paid. They know, like, I feel like the actors understand, like, we don't have good things to act and if we don't have good writers. So you know what I mean? So
if we don't have a good story, then what we do won't be portrayed well.
Right.
At all. You know, it's kind of like when you watch an indie movie with I don't know, somebody that like one of Johnny Depp's first movies or some you know, a great iconic actor like that, and you see like the low budget indie film kind of version, and then you see, you know, something great out of them, like Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know. You know.
Yeah, a lot of it is just in solidarity too, because I think Ryan Reynolds is doing a lot of the writing, but there's a lot of people who don't want to touch it because they believe in what the writers are doing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, like, I was looking around and on Instagram and stuff and looking into the strike a little bit, and it was just like, we just ask people to stand by us. Like, we're really not asking anything of like people who consume the content. Like, we know you're not the problem. We just need people to stand by us because this is our livelihood. This is what we need. Like, you know, they work on these huge blockbuster movies and stuff like that, but they don't see any of the money from it. And they're to continue to live in LA and work, like they can't even pay their rent and stuff. So it's a huge issue.
Yeah. And it's goes back to that loophole you know, that we had talked about. We had a whole podcast dedicated to the writer strike.
Yeah.
You know, and that was where we kind of started putting some of the pieces of everything together and seeing how it worked. That's when I found out that they're kind of almost like unionized and have the writers guild and an actors guild, and that's what kind of lets them not get screwed. But we had talked about in that podcast how Netflix created a loophole with streaming and royalties and it being a new form of media.
I know I play devil's advocate a lot, but you know, I don't necessarily blame most of the streaming services. You know, it's the way that the contracts are written out and how these people are hired that is the big issue. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Netflix came out. It's the same thing as music. You know what I mean? Just because there's a new technology doesn't mean that the new technology is the issue. I think it's a lot higher than that. And it's people refusing to like get used to the new technology and admitting that the new technology is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how long we're still dealing with it with music. So like artists don't get paid for all these streams, but you know, somebody's getting paid. I think at this point it's a lot of like the streaming services, but when the writers are signing contracts based on commercial, but then the studios sell that content to a streaming service and there's no commercials, I think that's where the issue really comes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like, they don't break it down right, and they don't give royalties, and like that was the big one, is that they weren't giving royalties for these huge TV shows even that, you know, Netflix has and is iconic for, that falls into that new media category. So I wouldn't say that it's not their fault. It almost feels like because of they had something and now they see the way the business works and they're kind of like, oh, well, we can pay a lesser known writer way less money, give him a flat fee, and never have to pay him royalties. That's what we're going to do. You know, so it's almost, I would kind of say the opposite, to where it is kind of the streaming services' faults on the way that they do business, and it's bad business.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm not even thinking about like a lot of the streaming service like exclusive content. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking more like it's hard now too, because like you want to say like, well, Universal and Warner Brothers and all this stuff is doing this and they're not paying the people and they're selling it. Well, they all have their own streaming services now. So those streaming services are definitely at fault, you know, because I mean, they can put their stuff on their own streaming service. But like, I think the biggest issue is like nobody's tracking the numbers like they should and paying out based on them. You know, so if whatever big studio sells a movie to Netflix, I feel like it's Netflix and that studio's responsibility to get those numbers right and pay out based on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where the studio's like, well, if we could get people to see it on Netflix, why wouldn't we sell it to Netflix? And then we don't have to pay people royalties. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think some streaming services, not that they're completely like wash their hands and, you know, clear of everything, but I think it comes down to a lot of, you know, those contracts. And, you know, I think the contracts need to be based on stream numbers instead of commercials. You know, it should be both.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, if you can go on Netflix and watch any Adam Sandler movie and then go to whatever TV channel and watch it with commercials, like everybody should get paid based on that movie. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that Adam Sandler doesn't pay people. You know, I think he has a history of doing really well with his friends and actors and stuff, but I just know he has a Netflix contract, so I know you can.
I think this is a big Sony Netflix thing between the two.
But it's way bigger than just that. It's, you know, it's HBO, it's Hulu, it's every streaming service.
Yeah.
Because they're not forced to report their numbers, and based on contracts, the studios and whoever's in charge of the movie isn't required to pay based on those view numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Those contracts only say, like, you get this much money and you'll get this much in commercial royalty, in a world where we don't really have commercials anymore. And that's like the biggest issue, I think.
Yeah. You know, people pay the extra money to not have commercials.
Right.
I don't. But
on top of, oh yeah, I do it on everything.
I know.
I don't have commercials anywhere, bro.
Dude, I can't. I'm like, I could sit through 30 seconds. You know, so some of them are. There's a lot of them, but like HBO, I feel like is pretty decent with the ads. It's just one right before, maybe one right after, and then it's done.
Yeah, some of them are like, some of them they'll just put an ad right in the middle of a movie. I'm like, I'm watching a movie. Let me finish the movie. Like, but that's also just not even touching the whole AI situation. You know what I mean? So that's a whole nother issue that's not even covered yet in what we're talking about.
AI, it like scares me to think that the possibility is real that they could kind of take over with AI and maybe finish Deadpool 3 even, you know? You know, I'm like, how would they do that? But is it possible? I don't know. It's kind of like if you told AI to write a Deadpool movie, what would it write? You know, like what version of Deadpool would it be? Would it be like the Rob Liefeld original version of Deadpool, you know, or would it be the Ryan Reynolds version of Deadpool?
Yeah, I mean, they already have some of the script, obviously, so they could plug that in and just fill in little gaps with it, and it'd definitely be possible.
Why not just hire somebody? Because they're on strike.
Because they don't want to pay him. That also, like, their solution to the issue is like, we're gonna offer you a bunch of money to make basically a 3D image of you, and then we'll just pay you money to own you for the rest of eternity. And everybody's like, you are missing the boat. You know what I mean? Like, that is not at all. We can use, if we just get the image of you, we can own your likeness, and then we'll just use AI for the rest of whatever we want you in. It's like that couldn't be further from what they're trying to do. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. Like, why do, I don't know.
Yeah. I almost feel like they're probably just not gonna use it. Because I've messed around with it a little bit, and I just feel like it's so robotic. I think it can be good sometimes, but a lot of times when it's like writing stuff and like it's too perfect, it's too robotic, which you can go and I guess humanize it, but I don't see it being a good, useful tool for at least like for something like Deadpool that is extremely like straight out of Ryan Reynolds' head.
Yeah, I don't know. I've used some of the image generators and stuff, but I don't really mess with ChatGPT. I think it was actually Corridor that was talking, and they're like, there's a lawyer like being sued and whatever they said, because he was literally using ChatGPT to do all of his cases. So he would just go in and he'd just plug a bunch of stuff into ChatGPT. It'd give him the information he needed. He'd take that directly to the courtroom and he'd win cases. And then they found out that he wasn't fact checking any of it. He would just like take it as what it was. And then he got caught because like part of it wasn't true or part of it wasn't, whatever. But he was using ChatGPT to win a bunch of cases, and now all those cases have to be reopened, and it's a whole thing.
Wow. So that's weird. That's weird though. So did it just give him false information?
I think it was something you'd have to go and like actually look into this, but if you want to go off of what I remember, it was like, so if there is a case that was similar to the case that you had, and it was already taken to court and there was an outcome, you can take that case to court and basically have more weight towards the same outcome, and a lot of times it'll work. So he would just go in and have GPT look up all the cases. He would type basically his case in, and it would pull up all the cases that were similar to his, and then he'd take all of those cases to the courtroom and be like, look, this is how many times you've had this case, this is the outcome, this is the outcome it should be this time.
Oh, dang.
But then
it's just, so he's kind of almost using it like a super powered search engine.
Yeah, pretty much. And then he but it doesn't always get all the names right, it doesn't always get all of the facts right, so he took that information in and they're like, this isn't real.
This isn't the case. They just kind of looked at it and were like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, it was wild.
Happen. Oh, wow, man.
And then it's just crazy. Like, people are using it for scripts, books. People are using it for whole books. It's definitely a strong tool, but I think this is like a thing that I talked about last time we talked about AI. It's like, I think it's really good to use as a tool, and it's okay for people to use as a tool. But if you use it for like pretty much a whole body of work, and then you put yourself out there like you did it, I think that's the issue that I find with it.
Yeah, it's like plagiarism.
You know? Essentially, kind of, yeah.
But a robot did it, not a person, so you're not stealing from a person. You can't steal from a robot, essentially. I guess is their logic on it, you know?
Yeah. I was wondering the other day, I was actually talking to my wife about, like, I feel like one of these big studios is going to just make a ChatGPT movie and not tell us that it's a ChatGPT movie. And then it's going to come out and it's going to do well. And they're going to be like, look, you guys don't want real writers. This is made by ChatGPT. So why do we need those writers anymore? You know, and they're not going to tell us until after the movie comes out.
Yeah.
Or it's just crazy. Like, I don't know what. It's so hard to say what this, like, the future of this is going to look like.
Yeah, it's going to be messy, you know? So I think forever and always Batman 89 is going to be my favorite movie. All the movies from my childhood are going to continue to be my favorite movies. Everything in the future, I don't really have that high of hopes for.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We don't even know what the future looks like, so
right.
You know what the past looks like.
Yeah, and it's still messy. You know, we had the same writer's strike in 2007. You know, and now.
Yeah, it was for a little bit different stuff, but very similar.
Yeah, it wasn't an AI thing,
right?
But I think it was a little bit more of TV shows and Family Guy and being on the air and commercial rights and stuff like that, royalties that fall into play. You know, and if we can look at that would have been done and over by now.
Yeah,
you know, if this was like the 2007 strike, so something serious has got to be happening, and for this to still be going on, what has it been, like 5-6 months now?
I think it officially started in either March or May. So
that's what I was thinking. I was thinking March for some reason. I was like, I feel like we heard about it first in March.
I remember it being an M month, but that's as much as I can remember. Yeah, I don't know. I know, like, I started following, like, the Writers Guild and different unions and stuff on Instagram, and they had posted that they're not asking for us to really do anything right now. They're doing what they need to do. They're trying to take care of it on their end. The only thing they're asking people to do is just, you know, share the information with people, and, you know, so people actually know what's going on. But yeah, it's chaos. It's a mess. You know, I talked to some people about it, and it, you know, it's a lot of, like, those people make too much money anyway, so why do I care? But it's like, these are the people that you don't hear about, that don't make money, that the movie wouldn't be the same without. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. We're not talking about the people that have made the millions of dollars. We're talking about the people that did the work, should have made the millions of dollars and didn't, and now they're sitting there still trying to pay rent, and
I think the actor, I'm sorry. I think the actors joining them was very good for them, but also very bad for them in the eyes of like all of us, because they're like, oh, now the actors want more money. And it's not, I don't think it's necessarily that. It's like the actors want the writers to get paid, but now everybody's like seeing actors' faces and they're like, well, they make millions. Like, who cares?
Yeah. And yeah, I don't think the problem lies within the Actors Guild at all, because I think the actors get paid very well. And I'm pretty sure they would agree they get paid very well, and they make a lot of money, but once again, they would not have a job if it wasn't for these writers, and that's kind of why they're teaming up and striking with them, to have their back, to be like, well, if they're not going to be writing, and the guys that made me who I am, the guys that wrote Stranger Things, all those kids got other roles from Stranger Things. And because it did so well, yes, they were good actors, but they had to be coached. They weren't that great of actors, especially at that time, but the story was there, and that's what it was. And that's what mattered.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird thing for the future of what we do too, because we do talk a lot about movies. We talk about comics, and I mean, as far as I know, comics are doing pretty well, but probably about half of what we talk about is movies and the things that go with the comics. So a lot of that is going to get pushed out as well. So we are along for the ride, and we'll see where we end up. But
a few weeks back when we got that Wolverine suit that you were talking about, that made the book go up. That made Wolverine number 1 go up. And now it's still on its way up, which is actually kind of shocking. But if anybody was trying to pick up that book for a few bucks less and get a deal on it, give it a month or two, and I bet we're going to start seeing a decline in those comic spikes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the spikes revolve around a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Directly around the shows and the movies.
We got Across the Spider-Verse, and we got announced the next one, and how many of those books spiked, and the 2099 Spider-Man book spiked, and all this stuff is spiking because of movies. So I guess this might be my ignorance with comics, but like where do the new spikes come from if we don't have movies and TV shows? I mean, you're just gonna have to rely on like a new character coming out in a comic, I guess. Where else would it come from?
A new character, something, the death of a character,
right?
Things of that nature.
But even then, it'd be a lot of
Earth is still going crazy.
It'd be a lot of speculation at that point, because if that character never does anything again, or they don't eventually make a movie, or where is that character going to end up in the future? So
yeah, like the Flash. Bye.
Oh, I did want to say, I watched a video on the beginning of the Flash movie with the babies, and apparently there was supposed to be a whole volcano scene and like a whole thing, and they changed it
last minute.
But in my well, it depends how much time they had. I feel like they could have bought some cheap baby assets dolls, and it would have looked better, but yeah, so I guess that was a change. I don't know how last minute it was, but that might have contributed to that, the visuals.
Yeah, I bet, because that's what we were kind of talking about. It's like, why did the battle between Zod look so good?
Yeah,
but the babies just look like poop. That was so bad. I sent you a picture of a pop not too long ago. It was one of those full like diorama pops, and it was the scene of him floating around. The babies are all floating around him, and he's dashing through them. I needed to get it.
I didn't know Funko was doing movie realistic pops now.
Dude, honestly, the Funko looked better than the movie. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
My gosh. But that, that totally makes sense. They probably had a week to do that scene before the movie came out.
Yeah. For the movie's sake, I hope it was last minute. For the visual effects people's sake, I hope they were just like had time and they were like, you screwed us, here's what you get. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
But that just goes back to like what we kind of talked about before about VFX artists kind of just getting everything dropped on them last minute, and then they get the criticism and stuff is like, what VFX artists were working on this? They suck. But like, you don't really know what they were going through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could have done the rest of the movie and they could have done a million shots that you didn't even know were VFX. And then you're mad about the babies when that was not an actual representation of their work. But
right. And apparently this was a 9-year process to make this movie. A 9-year project, and you're going to change something last minute and it's going to look that bad. Like, I would have rather just probably seen the volcano scene.
Yeah.
That already sounds more interesting.
That wasn't the move.
Yeah, just put the dog in the volcano, dude. Like, oh, that dog. Why did the dog look better than the babies?
I don't know. They used the dog from Toy Story or something.
Probably. The Slinky.
Yeah.
Slinky.
Imagine.
Oh my gosh, man!
It would have been fitting for the whole scene if they used a Slinky dog, but between the burrito and the everything else, but
right,
yeah, that was not a good movie.
No. I love Keaton.
I guess what is the Blue Beetle going to be a good movie?
I hope so. Oh, that comes out soon.
Yeah, it comes out soon.
Isn't that like 3 weeks or something?
Soon, yeah. But this is, especially with the writer's strike and everything that we're talking about, they don't have many chances left to get people back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have Blue Beetle. I don't think they have anything else done, do they? Or ready to be done?
No. Not that's coming out anymore. I think after Blue Beetle is the start of James Gunn. Right?
That's where it gets super confusing. So it's the first DCU movie, but the DCU doesn't start until Superman. But Superman isn't for another year or two. So that's not coming out anytime soon. It's maybe even longer now, but coming off of The Flash and I'm thinking Zach, what's his name? Shazam.
Yeah.
Black Adam, all that stuff, all those movies that we've talked about now a few times, it's like, with the writer's strike being on the other side, well, I mean, it's currently happening, but the writer's strike movies being on the other side of Blue Beetle, what are they going to do? You know what I mean? Like, if Blue Beetle doesn't do well, which I don't think Blue Beetle will do well, what does that look like for DC?
Yeah, I would be, by the trailer, I think it should do well, but the fact that I actually haven't seen the trailer pop up as an advertisement in a little bit tells me that they're probably not doing the justice on the advertising side to even get booties in the seats, as we like to say.
Yeah. I feel like we talked about that a little bit before we started the podcast. It's like, I feel like DC is dropping the ball on marketing and advertisement. I mean, but I guess, do you blame them at this point? Look at what they did for Black Adam.
Yeah, they did all the marketing and advertisement they needed, or they just let The Rock do it. And but yeah, I think that's something to do with it. But I also think what's going to come from here on out is that they're just like we had said, they should just realistically scrap everything and just start fresh. And I think that's
Yeah.
what they're trying to do. So maybe they're just like, we're going to save the marketing budget that we had for this movie, and we're going to use it on the actual DCU that we're going to start with Superman, you know? So
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll probably start seeing a step up in that marketing tactic.
I feel like especially with somebody like Black Adam and Blue Beetle, you need to be out there doing it, because these aren't Batman, Superman superheroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The people don't know them just by their symbol. They don't know who they are. They don't know their story. And I feel like they kind of shot themselves in the foot by having The Rock do so much media and so much, he's a big name, but now you've seen The Rock, and now when you go to see Black Adam, you're going to see The Rock. You're not going to see Black Adam. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
But I mean, you also run that issue with getting a big actor like that. So I don't know what their solution would have been, other than understanding that that's not how people see movies anymore. And, post-COVID movie numbers aren't going to be the same then as they were in the 90s,
Yeah, unless they actually start making good movies.
Right.
Like that's really what it comes down to, is make a good movie and we'll be all right,
But I mean, I don't think Black Adam was a bad movie.
No, I don't think it was.
I
think it was just the whole controversy with Cavill and everything that came after the movie.
I don't think Shazam was a bad movie. I actually like Shazam, but I think it is everything they have going on in their universe and everything going on in Warner Brothers and everything they have, it's there's so much mess around it.
And with that mess, the mess that is like happening for me is that when Black Adam came out, I was so stoked on it, knowing that like we're gonna get the fight between Black Adam and Superman. That's supposed to be a thing, and he didn't even say that yet. Nobody had said that yet. We saw it the day of that it came out. So when I saw Cavill come back, it like got me all excited, and I was so hyped for this movie. And now with everything surrounding it afterwards, it pulled it all away, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't care about the movie anymore,
Right.
Something that I should care about.
I think they did a really bad job as well, just like telling the story as far as like how Shazam, Superman, and Black Adam go together. Because you have a Shazam movie years before that. You have a Shazam movie coming out. You have The Rock saying Shazam and Black Adam. For people who don't know the comics, they're very confused at this point. And now you have Superman popping up. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot of story that needs to be involved to tell that story well. And they skipped over all of it just to get to Superman versus Black Adam.
Yeah, I think so. I can see what you're saying. Kind of like if you're not a comic head and you're not a fan of comics, you're not going to know the origin of Black Adam and why all this stuff kind of ties in together. I could see what you're saying and why it would make it so confusing. So maybe that is why it didn't do well, is that they just focused so hard on expecting everybody to be like, go read the comics before you read, come see this movie.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about getting the numbers and the seats that you want, I feel like you have to tell the story in a way that it's good for comic people to enjoy, but I don't want to say dumbed down, but like it's laid out in a way that people who don't read the comics can understand. You know what I mean? If you want to tell that story and you want to go on that journey and you want millions and millions of people to see it, I feel like you need to understand, or you need to be able to at least tell the story in a way that everybody can understand it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you've never heard of Shazam in your life, you've never heard of Black Adam in your life, but you go to see both movies, you're very confused as to why both of them are saying Shazam, but when Black Adam says that he's not a kid, that turns into a super, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that are very confusing to like the average or the normal like movie person that doesn't read comics.
Yeah, I think one of the issues with more so modern movies within the last 5-6 years is that they don't want to show the origin story, or when they do show the origin story, they go and just plow right over it so quick, and it's just like it almost didn't even matter. Like, we got the Black Adam origin story in it, and it said it, but it happened so fast that, you know, when you compare it to like the first Spider-Man movie, that
Right.
whole movie was his origin story.
I think that's something that they're probably not understanding is like, we don't need origin stories anymore in the sense of like, we know where Spider-Man gets his powers. Like, we know where Batman comes from. We know his parents died. But for a character like Blue Beetle, a character like Black Adam, a character like Shazam, like all these other characters that aren't like your front runners, your the god tier like we made them, like, you need to explain this to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at least put something out, or like, I don't know, it's got to be something.
Yeah.
Make YouTube videos on the origins and put a little bit of production into it and play it during the previews. You know what I mean? If you don't want it in your movie, you have enough time during your previews to.
Yeah, I say put it in the movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I say plan on, you know, if you want to get into the Black Adam versus Superman and stuff like that, plan on another movie. You know, plan on 2 more movies. Give them an origin story, give them a middle ground, and then give them the ending, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I had said. I think that's what I had said when Black Adam first came out. Is like, I want Black Adam to be a Black Adam story. I want Black Adam 2 to be the interaction between Black Adam and Shazam. And then 3 to be like that big moment you're waiting for. You know what I mean? Do we get the Black Adam, Shazam, Superman fight and all that stuff, you know? I mean, they do a better job, I think, in like a 15-minute short on animated short on HBO. And you can go and actually see why they're mad at each other and the fight happened. And you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what DC does at this point.
I don't know. We need origin stories back. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. Because we're already getting. The Batman is going to be brave and bold with Damian. So that's going to pass all that up. You know, all that stuff is going to be passed. And
yeah, I mean, we like barely got a Nightwing. We got Nightwing and Titans. We barely got. I didn't even get that far into Titans.
I just wonder if we're going to get. I just don't know what they're going to do with Titans, because they said they're going to scrap it, but then they say that they can save it because they don't use any of the same actors and it actually fits into what they're planning on doing. You know, and I think Titans did a really good job as far as like, I mean, we did see Batman for a little bit, but we don't see any of the other big characters. You know, you never really see the Joker. You see the Joker kill Jason Todd, but you never see the Joker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you get Nightwing becoming Nightwing. You get Red Hood becoming Red Hood. And
that's what I was going to ask.
And now you just got Tim Drake becoming Robin. So I kind of wish that they would have made Tim Drake not Robin and had that be the storyline where Dick Grayson is like, hey, you're really good. I don't think you deserve Robin, but you know, Damian Wayne's not in the picture yet. So you kind of have to hit that note.
Right.
But yeah, you understand, like, you're understanding Starfire, you're understanding Raven, you're understanding, you know, all these characters that aren't really, you know, mainstays, as you know, Nightwing is now and stuff like that. But you know, a lot of people don't see Nightwing on the same level as Batman, and you're getting
even
that.
Though I think
you're
Batman
getting that story
that he is, but yeah.
Well, yeah. Now, like, if you read the comics now, like, Nightwing actually has superpowers, and Nightwing is the leader of the Justice League, and Nightwing is always the fill-in Batman if Batman's not available, or you know, he can't get up, or they think he's dead, or he's gone training somewhere and you haven't heard it. Like, it's always Nightwing in the suit, you know, except for that one time where it was some random guy. But but yeah, I think that's a really good way to do it, you know. And we talked about Moon Knight again. You know, we got that story that built up Moon Knight in our hearts and in our minds. But now, like, I'm ready to see him in a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than just throwing out a movie and not understanding anything, or, you know, I don't know.
I'm ready for a season 2 season. Dude, I'm ready for 10 seasons of Moon Knight, man.
Right.
That was something I don't remember. I think it officially is done.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
I think we talked about it a little bit, and I thought there was supposed to be a season 2, and then I thought it got scrapped.
Yeah.
I don't remember at this point.
I think it was very similar to like what happened with now I can't remember the DC show on Netflix.
Peacemaker?
No, that was on HBO. It's the sleeping one, the sleep guy.
Sandman.
Sandman, yes, I could not remember that. Same in life. I think it's very similar to that. I think a lot of the actors enjoyed doing it. I think the audience enjoyed it quite a bit, and then like Netflix is like, nah. It's like, what? You know?
Yeah, why?
I think Oscar Isaac even talked about Moon Knight season 2, and he's like, I'm ready. Let's do it. You have to get Marvel to want to do it, and I'm down.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
If that's not enough.
You know what we are gonna get a season 2 of, though?
Huh?
She-Hulk.
Dude, I would seriously actually be mad.
We probably would. We'd probably get She-Hulk before we got Moon Knight, I bet.
I would write 10 emails a day to Marvel Studios. At least. Just being
send,
like,
don't send, do, send this, send, please, send.
Don't do She-Hulk, do Moon Knight. That's all it's going to say. Don't do She-Hulk, do Moon Knight. Unless you can do She-Hulk some justice. I think it should have some justice done.
They would have to. I mean, they're
just going to pull her into some movie. That's what's going to happen.
That's the flip side of it, though, I guess, huh? You would do a show talking about a character, and if you do a bad job, then nobody wants to see that character again.
Yeah.
You do a TV show about a new character, you do a really good job on that character, and people are waiting for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Moon Knight.
But I guess, wouldn't that be a good way to get people into the theaters? You know, you build the wants, you build the attachment in home in the TV show, and then you bring them to the theater, and then people are already attached to that character. You know what I mean?
Boom.
Especially a character that you haven't seen a million times. Like, I love Batman. I love Spider-Man. I love all that stuff. But I would be right into the movie theater for a Moon Knight. You know what I mean?
There you go. There it is.
Because I'm ready.
They just need to listen to you.
I am pretty smart. So
they need to hire you because it seems like you got the formula figured out, you know?
I've been around a while, you know? So
got them grades.
Just flash my phone number on the screen. Disney, DC, Marvel. Here's my phone number. No, I'm just kidding.
You.
Yeah. I'll bring DC and Marvel together. That's what they need to do. When is the last time we've seen Marvel and DC crossover?
When DC took back Captain Marvel and made him Shazam.
I don't know if people would want to see that, but I think it'd be an interesting crossover. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that whole origin of Captain Marvel and origin of Shazam is pretty hilarious. It was a DC character that got sold to Marvel, Captain Marvel, and sold back to DC.
Right.
Or something like that. I don't remember.
What if they just had a massive end game, or like Civil War, like Captain America Civil War, but instead of the Avengers fighting themselves, it was DC versus Marvel.
They should just do that. Anyways,
wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be.
That'd be so cool.
Who's stronger and who's better, Spider-Man or Batman?
Yeah,
I would love to see that. A big bulky guy versus a little athletic, spindly, fast guy.
It's like Secret Wars, but involves DC and Marvel.
Here we go. Earths explode. We're going to give them too many ideas, man. They're going to watch this podcast and just start writing our stories.
They're going to have to pay writers first.
Yeah.
You know,
we're gonna have to join in on the strike.
Striking. Now I'm a writer all of a sudden, and I'm striking because I have such good ideas.
This is my book I wrote. Not really.
This is the book I wrote.
Yeah, I'm a writer. There you go. I created this. I wrote this.
Well, that's good because I wrote this.
There you go.
Everybody listening to the audio version is like, what are they talking about?
We're throwing up like AF-15.
Just books that we have next to us randomly.
Spider-Gwen #1 and The Last Ronin. That's what we're throwing up and being like, we wrote it. Oh gosh, see, it's better to just come to YouTube and watch a video because then you don't have to worry about it. But quick plug for the YouTube channel.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for me this week. I don't know if I have anything else to talk about. What we got to talk about?
I have one more thing to talk about, and I feel bad for Kevin Smith right now because he is taking some heat right now from the fans because he is being blamed for the cancellation of He-Man, the He-Man movie.
Yeah. I don't know a ton about this. You sent me some, and that's about all I know. So if you want to explain it to people.
Yeah, I was kind of trying to find it once again. I sent you some screenshots, but he had basically just made some statements online saying that the Masters of the Universe Revelation performing poorly had nothing to do with the live action version and of it getting axed, you know, because I think he's writing the cartoon.
Right.
He's writing the show right now. So I know he's on strike and he's not writing it at this moment, but he helps and he does the show. So apparently that performed poorly and not that great. And it says it has nothing to do with that. It's just, once again, going back to the strike, they've already spent $30 million on just trying to keep the actors that they had for it.
Yeah.
You know, and they only had an estimated cost of like 120 million or something like that. Or it wasn't as big of a number as I thought it was, especially because we just went through that list and we saw like the top 10 movies that failed from DC.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we're seeing them spend $300 million, $250 million, $200 million. Like it's nothing, you know, and they were trying to keep it under 200 million. I know that was the main goal. They tried to do it for 150, and just in keeping the actors and the writers and everybody, it was 30 million for that. So that's not set cost. That's not, you know, anything else. Marketing. I guess if they were going to end up doing it, they were trying to get it down to 180 million and they couldn't get it down far enough, and they had already spent 30 million on it. So they're just like, we're scrapping it. That's what it is. He is getting blamed for it because the cartoon isn't doing the best.
Yeah.
You know, on Netflix, but everybody's kind of attacking him and being like, this is your fault. You know, it's not doing good. You're on strike and now you're not writing and the show's doing poorly. So they're not going to want to put the money into it. But he realistically had nothing to do with it.
Right. Yeah. I just read a little bit of something. It said like there was an implosion at Netflix and it got too pricey for them anyways. So they didn't really want to move forward with it. So
yep.
Really doesn't have anything to do with Mr. Kevin Smith.
Yeah,
let's get him on the show.
People are just tweeting him, and he's responding on Twitter. You guys,
let's get him on the show. Hey,
I tried.
Hey, come talk to us. We don't even have to talk about He-Man, but if you want to, we will.
This is the short right here. Ready? Kevin Smith, get on this podcast.
With my blown out forehead, and I'm looking real white today. Pink.
I actually can't even see you. You're blurry right now. Yeah, no difference.
All right.
But yeah, I don't know. He's taking the heat. He is responding on Twitter at least. So maybe
Yeah.
I'll message him on there and we'll talk to him about that on the podcast someday. One day.
Yeah, I mean, see if he wants to come by. Otherwise, I mean, I love Kevin Smith. I'm not gonna blame him for Netflix not wanting to spend money on a movie. You know what I mean? So
even if he told them not to, it's probably a better idea because it's coming from Kevin Smith.
Right.
Even if he's like, hey, I really think that you guys should cancel He-Man, coming from one of the biggest He-Man fans ever, like, just listen to the guy, all right? Like,
right.
He knows what he's doing.
All right, guys, be sure to check out the links in the description for things like free money. Use our link to sign up on Whatnot, get a $10 credit, use anywhere on Whatnot. W.GG, code Collective Comics at checkout gets you 10% off your jitterless energy. And until next time, this has been Collective Comics.